Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And it's getting a little wild out there with all these wild and crazy stories going on. And I wanted to bring up a story today that really bothers me. And this is where the world is going now, at least for the United States, at least with Gen Z and millennials. In an article by Axos, which I read a couple of hours ago, and this story here that was posted by the New York Post, which we're using for informational purposes, Generation Z or Gen Z and millennials are now using Google, TikTok, YouTube, basically any social media platform to help them in everyday activities, to learn how to mop, to learn how to clean a bathroom, to learn how to, I don't know, pump gas. Who knows? But as you can see by the graph here, more how-to skills are being Googled by these two generations more than ever. Now I'm going to give you full disclosure here. I had a couple of years ago, I had a terrible pipe burst in my house. I did not want to spend 1,000 or I think it was going to be like $1,500 to get these pipes fixed by a plumber. I went to YouTube. There was a dude on there who showed you how to do it. He told you how to what to get, how to cut the pipes, how to put them together, and how to check to see if there was any more leaks. And it saved me literally $1,200. I went from looking at spending $1,200 to spending about 40. So yes, you can, for stuff like this, for plumbing, for fixing your car, something that you wouldn't necessarily know how to do. Social media, YouTube especially, are fantastic. But for some of the things that these kids are looking up, it's scary. I mean, how can you not know how to do laundry? How could you not know how to, make your bed? Fluff your pillows. Like some of these kids don't know when to, how often they should, wash their clothes. And when people say, well, generation Gen Z and millennials are doomed, they're not the only ones. So are we. These are the people that are going to be paying into our Social Security one day. And in this article that I read, they're blaming it on the fact that that high schools have removed home ec courses from their curriculum. Who's to blame for that? Well, it always goes to those lovely ladies in feminism. They remove they it's chauvinistic and old fashioned to teach girls how to sew and knit, how to boil water. And boys, of course, they shouldn't learn how to change a tire, or they shouldn't learn anything in wood shop or how to weld. I remember I took classes where I took wood shop. They did some brief like minimal welding type stuff. We learned how to rotate tires. I mean, it was just, it wasn't crazy stuff, but we learned these things. We got our hands dirty. We had some elbow grease, and the girls learned how to knit and how to sew. We learned how to balance a checkbook. People don't have checkbooks anymore. I get that. But these were things that we learned how to do. We learned how to uh, do our laundry. We learned how to wash dishes. These guys are Googling how to wash dishes. I remember when I was a kid, we had the whole egg thing where you had to have an egg and you had to pretend that it was your baby. And you had to carry around this egg for like, a couple of days. And it was fun. It was corny, but it was fun. And in those days, school was, we didn't think of it at the time as being fun, but compared to what it is like today, oh my God. And what are these kids really learning in school? Are they really learning anything? I was reading an article that the state of New Jersey, they did these tests on children that are high schoolers who are graduating. Like 40% of them are reading at a fourth grade level. And those are the ones who can read. So what are these schools really doing? I can tell you, I'm in the education system. It's a disaster where your tax dollars are going. And all of this can be pointed at feminism and woke and DEI and all the crazy garbage that's going on today. You got girls out there, they want to be the masters of the universe, but they can't boil water. They don't know how to wash their own panties. They they don't know how to gas up their own car. So how are these women strong if they can't do basic functions around the house? And more importantly, how are they going to become mothers one day? If they can't take care of themselves, how are they going to take care of the children? And maybe this is the reason why they don't have any kids. They just don't have the skills for it. And this is becoming something where boys and girls never learn to become men and women. We see these guys today. We talked about it the other night. You got these 25-year-old guys who are still playing video games, still living at home with mom and dad in the basement, showering every other day, if that, dressing like crap, looking like crap. I've seen guys, especially down here where I am, who are fat. They have beards going down to their belly buttons. They wear the same clothes every day, the same work boots every day. And it just makes you wonder, how are these guys ever going to find anybody? And if they do find somebody, what kind of person is the woman or whoever they're with like? What kind of standards do they have? We'll get to that in the man memo. But boys and girls used to, high school was to prepare you for college, but it was also to prepare you to be a man or a woman. You learned the functions of a man, you learned the functions of how to be a woman. And home ec classes taught girls the essentials of survival: cooking, cleaning, sewing, all that good stuff. So the schools have failed. The schools have failed us. And we know that. It used to be that if my sister needed to learn how to cook something or she wanted to know, she would ask my grandmother or she would ask my mother. Now people are going to Google or to TikTok. If you needed help fixing your car, you would ask your dad, your uncle, or whoever. Now you have people going to social media. Social media has replaced the family, if there was ever a family at all. And it's incredible that if you go on TikTok, cleaning trends, how to clean your house, clean your bathroom, clean your kitchen, remain one of the most popular content categories on that platform. Even these AI chatbot things like ChatGPT, they help explain things that are just rudimentary. The one potential reason that there's no practical skills anymore is because practical skills used to be taught in schools. Classes taught students how to manage their finances. It taught them how to, like I said, balance your checkbook. Less than a third of American high schoolers take a class that assists them in learning basic skills. And this is not my opinion. This is not the opinion of some crackpot over the internet that I read about. This is according to the American Association of Family and Consumer Sciences. And an anonymous educator, quote, "Sometimes we take for granted that kids know how to wash dishes. I never thought I had to go and explain step by step how to put the drain plug in and the amount of soap to use. This is madness." I mean, this is where it's at. This is where it's at. Now, there are still workshops that I remember if I don't even know if well, I know libraries exist, but I mean they may be going away of the dodo bird. They used to have workshops that would teach you how to, paint and uh, draw or do clay things, and there would even be workshops for cooking. But it wasn't your basic skills cooking. It was sometimes it was a French class, or you had somebody who would teach you how to cook some exotic food or something like that. It was fun. It was how people socialized. I mean, we don't have that anymore, and a lot is being lost. A lot is lost when you try to learn things online. And when you're watching somebody do something, it's like almost like learning how to ride a bike. You can't watch somebody learn riding a bike and learn how to do it. It's more difficult to really understand the ins and outs of doing these basic skills unless you have somebody hands-on doing it with you, making you do it yourself. And of course, there's always the benefit of having that social connection and interaction, that support system from the people that you care about and love. But that we don't have that now. And to have Google or some social media nut job teaching your kids how to do just basic skills, I mean, it almost makes you feel like you're a failure as a parent. I mean, this is absurd what's going on here. And in this article by the New York Times, which we're using for informational purposes, as I said, the quote here is New York high schools are failing their students, not academically. Well, they are academically, but practically. And this is coming from a 10th grader. Now, until the 1960s, New York high schoolers learned how to cook, clean, and sew as part of a standard curriculum. In 2025, they'd be lucky if they knew how to do their laundry. Madness. Madness. And it's not just Google, as I said, it's YouTube, it's TikTok, it's AI chat boxes. Pew Research data found that in 2018, more than half of YouTube users in the United States, let's point that out, admitted to using the platform for figuring out, and I quote, figuring out how to do things they haven't done before. Especially when it comes to how to clean a home, adults are turning to TikTok, where cleaning trends remain one of the most popular content categories on the platform. Oh my goodness. It's amazing. Generation Z is now flocking to something called Adulting 101 crash courses in a desperate attempt to learn skills that previous generations might call common sense. So, such as how to do laundry, budgeting for rent, my God, and navigating a grocery store. Now, I will tell you, there is nobody who is more helpless than yours truly if if I go into a Home Depot. I know no, I don't go to Home Depot. I don't. I find it just intimidating. I'm not a handsy guy, so that's why it's not for me. But there are Canadian colleges like the University of Waterloo are stepping in to teach the basics with online toolkits like Adulting 101, which covers everything from healthy relationships. Oh my God. To how not to set your kitchen on fire. This is now a college course that you pay for. So these are kids that they're not kids anymore. They can fight in wars, they can smoke, they can drink, but they have to learn the basics in order to keep their kitchen and house from burning down. Mother of God, what have we gone to? Where have we gone? We've gone nowhere. We've gone backwards. It's 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 I'm at a loss for words. I never thought that would happen, but I am at a loss for words. And this is the problem again. I always blame it with the big source, and the big source of blame here is feminism. They wanted to replace fathers with the government. They did. They didn't. They didn't. They wanted to break up the home. They wanted to break up the family. They did. They wanted to prevent pregnancies with the birth control pill. They did. And then if a girl was too lazy to take birth control and she got pregnant, they wanted to eliminate the pregnancies with mass abortions. They did. Then they told women to forget about men taking care of you and supporting you and being the head of a household. You're the boss lady. You're God. Go and get a career. You don't need a baby. You can freeze your eggs, and when you're 40 years old, you can have the baby with anybody you want. Look how that worked out for most of these women. Now they're 40 years old, the eggs don't take, or the eggs are not viable. No man, no baby, and they're stuck with just a career, and they'll die alone with their cats. But it's just amazing to me that less than a third of American high schoolers know how to take care of themselves with just basic survival skills. It's amazing. It's scary. And this is the reason why. This is the reason why. And I might have to do a 4 or 5 part episode on this, because I see it with the guys down here. These younger guys, some of them aren't young anymore. Some of them are in their 40s, who look, who act, and who just socialize like they're children, like they're slobs, like they've given up. You've seen it on social media. You've seen these guys, some of these girls walking around in their pajamas, going to some grocery store with flip-flops, pajamas, and a t-shirt with more stains on it than some grease monkey in a auto shop. And no, and it's acceptable. There used to be a time where you would go anywhere. It didn't matter if you were going to a Walmart. You'll try to look decent at least, because you were outside and you're representing your parents. You're representing your family name. Now people don't care. They don't care because their parents don't care. Half of them don't have 2 parents in the household. Most of them don't have parents that care about them at all, because their parents are doing the same thing they did. You got to see some of the loser parents that I've run into. Oh my God, especially these women. You meet these women that are 35 and up, and they might as well just have a revolving door going in and out of their bedroom. It is just sickening. And their kids see this, and of course it's considered normal because your mom is doing it or dad is doing it. So I'm going to do it. What makes me so special? So Adulting 101, the University of YouTube. This is where we're at. We're doomed. We're doomed if this doesn't turn around soon. We're doomed. But you can have all the lawyers and doctors you want. If you have a doctor or a lawyer who doesn't know how to make his own bed or wash his own clothes or be able to wash dishes or burns down his home because he doesn't know how to operate a crock pot, what's the point? What is the gosh darn point? All right, enough of that ramble. I wanted to stick to the topic, and I know I mentioned this before, of having some pride in yourself. A lot of people don't. A lot of men don't. As this article and podcast showed, they don't know how to be adults. I've lived on my own for a very long time. It's just what I like. I like it better than being with somebody because I can come and go as I please. I mean, I got Reese, and she's a handful, but I know how to take care of myself, obviously. Some of these 40-year-old guys that I run into, 30-year-old guys. These 20-year-old guys are almost like their children. There are more guys who are obese, just sloppy. They don't care about their looks. They don't care how they look. And I live in a small town, like I said, where I'm kind of like the odd guy because I always iron my I always iron my clothes. I always make sure my hair's in place. And then people ask me, "Well, why do you make sure that your clothes are ironed, or why do you always wear button-down shirts?" And I says, "Because I care about how I look. I'm not going to grow my beard out down to my knees. I'm not going to gain 70, 80 pounds and be some fat boy who's, wearing construction boots and ripped jeans. It's just not me. I guess I'm too vain for it." And the man memo today will be dress like you own the room. Your appearance is your silent introduction before you even open your mouth. People judge you the minute they see you. Your posture, your clothes, your presence, these things announce your value before you say a single word. The question is, what are you telling the world when they see you? Are you walking around dressed like a man who commands respect? Are you walking around like a guy who blends in with the crowd? Or maybe it's worse. Maybe you're the boy begging to be overlooked because weak men will tell you that looks don't matter. They convince themselves that clothing is meaningless, style is vain. We see that in commercials all the time, especially with white males. They show these white guys being bumbling, stumbling, fat, feeble, out of control idiots who can't control their own lives. They won't do that with black men on TV, of course. They do that with white men in these commercials. They're mocking how white men are. And maybe they have a point because I've seen a lot of white guys like this. And these guys will tell you, and a lot of feminists will tell you that the appearance is irrelevant to masculinity. They lie to themselves to justify their own laziness, but reality doesn't care about your feelings. When a man walks into a room dressed with power, if you walk into a room like a peacock, people notice you. They may hate you, but because they may be jealous of you, but they notice you. You stand out. Now, some people don't want to stand out, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. Less competition for us. But the weak boy who cowers and lowers his head and is meek, that's the that's the guy you got to grab and you got to say, come on, you're better than this. You're letting down your entire bloodline. Because people notice. They assume competence when they see a strong man walking in. They assume status. They assume that this man is worth paying attention to. When a man walks in looking sloppy, weak, and unkept, people assume he's a nobody. And you know what? Most of the time, their assumptions are right. Like I said, these guys walking this whole beard thing, this whole fat guy thing, this whole wearing the same shirt 3 or 4 times a day or 3 or 4 times a week and wearing the faded jeans with the work boots. You look like a guy. If you're a guy who picks stuff up and puts stuff down for a living, that's okay. But keep it for work. When you go out, have some pride in yourself. Because people are going to assume that you're a nothing, that you're a nobody, and nobodies get ignored. History shows us clearly the men who commanded empires and led nations, the men who built legacies, they stand the test of time always. These guys understood the power of appearance. You look at Napoleon, you look at Julius Caesar, the way he carried himself. Read about Julius Caesar, and every biography you'll read about him always tells you that he was very conscious about his appearance. He walked straight with his shoulders held back. He had a arrogant, pompous way to him because he was better than everybody else. If you read about Alexander the Great and the Battle of Gaugamela, in order for the Persians and Xerxes, the king of the Persians who was on the opposite end of the battlefield, in order for them to know who Alexander was, he wore a large helmet with feathers flowing in the wind because he wanted to stand out. Now, I'm not telling you have to be Alexander the Great or Julius Caesar or Napoleon Bonaparte. Those are the three greatest people in the history of the world. What I'm telling you is that you can do your own little part just to have some confidence in yourself. Be proud of the man that you see in the mirror. The men I just mentioned, they dressed with intention. Their clothes, their suits were tailored, and I know that not everybody can afford tailored suits, but get stuff that's fitted. Get stuff that makes you look good. Make sure your shoes are polished. Make sure your posture's upright. Because those guys, these people, exude authority before they even speak a word. But today's man will step out in public looking like an overgrown child, wearing oversized pants, wearing sneakers that are worn, wearing hoodies, wearing clothes that have advertisements on them. I mean, I'm wearing a 7-Up shirt, but I'm home. These make you look like you're still in high school. These aren't men, these are boys dressed for comfort, not presence, not effort, not dominance, not power. We see young men who are severely overweight. They're lacking basic grooming habits, having unkept beards, growing down to their belly buttons, covered in tattoos. Their arms, their legs, sometimes now even their neck and hands. Do you know how that makes you look? There are studies that say that excessive tattooing has roots in trauma and mental illness. Instead of being addicted to getting tattoos, try reading the Stoics. Try a little bit of meditation. When you get the urge to get a tattoo, because it is addicting, stop and think. Because it's not helping you. A high-value man dresses like he owns the room. He doesn't wear clothes for comfort. He wears them for power and authority. Every piece of clothing on your body is strategic. You have to understand that dark colors create a sense of authority, that a well-fitted blazer transforms the way people perceive you. Clean shoes separate you from the masses of men who have no self-respect. And it might sound stupid and corny, but the next time you go out, you see a guy, look at his shoes. Now, this isn't about fashion. I'm not telling you you gotta wear, Dolce Gabbana stuff. This isn't about vanity. This isn't about anything other than sending a message without saying a word. It's about weaponizing your presence, being a man who commands respect, the man that never has to ask for it. When he walks in, people feel your energy and they fall all over you and they gush. They will gush over you. These men that walk this way, that present themselves this way, they have a sense of dominance. People assume that you have power And in a world where perception dictates reality, that assumption is everything. Weak men will argue against this. I don't care what people think of me. Well, you better. You care about how people think about you when you're on that job interview, right? You care about how that broad thinks about you when you're trying to pick her up. They'll say it's unfair, they'll say it shouldn't matter, but those same men will wonder why no one takes them seriously. Why they can't get the better job, why can't get the better looking girl. Why they're stuck in the mud with their lives. No one respects them, and they will be ignored when they speak. They refuse to accept the truth. And a man who doesn't respect himself enough to present himself properly will never be respected by anyone. So here's a challenge for you. Look in the mirror. Look at yourself. If you were a stranger, would you respect the man that's looking back at you? Now, if the answer is no, you already know what you need to do. Throw out all that crappy clothes. Ditch the sneakers. Make everything that makes you look like a teenager go in the garbage. Learn to wear fitted clothes, fitted shirts especially that highlight your physique. If you're if you're chubby, if you're a fat boy, hit the gym. Fasting is a very good way of really slowing down how you age and making you feel better. Eat at 6 p.m. Don't eat anything else. Don't eat anything else until 6 p.m. the next day. You drink lots of water. Maybe, if you want, you can chew on some ice, but you will feel a whole lot better. And it doesn't take very long. Fasting is the greatest thing in the world. I do it on and off. It's great. It's great. You will lose 20 pounds within the first couple of months. Wearing fitted clothes, of course, will highlight your physique. Also invest in dark, structured clothing that commands presence. Black shirts attract. Black suits attract. A lot of guys don't wear these anymore, but find a watch that speaks power, not desperation. Every detail matters. At first, people will notice your appearance and they'll question you about it. Like, what are you doing? What are you trying to do with it? Then they notice your confidence. And that's when it's connected. Boom. When you look powerful, you feel powerful. When you feel powerful, you move with authority. When you move with authority, people listen, people watch, and people come. That's for guys and gals, and especially women. Women are incredibly attracted to an authoritative man. They may talk to you all day long that they don't want a leader, they don't want this, they don't want that. Bullshit. Look at the powerful man and how many plates he's spinning. It's not because he's good looking. It's not because he has money. It's because he has authority. He has power. You can exude that. You could be a garbage man. Nobody has to know how you make your money. Carry yourself as if you're a CEO. Live as if. And again, this has nothing to do with fashion. It has everything to do with dominance, confidence, authority. This is about walking to any space and making it yours. When you walk into that bar, it's your bar. When you walk into that classroom, it's your classroom. You will out alpha any alpha because you will be stoic. Dress like you own the world, and the world will start to believe you do. And that's the memo. All right. Well, I hope that helped. Thank you again for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. And be careful, gentlemen. Satan is always busy. He's always busy. And he's really, really busy. This is my fourth broadcast in the last 3 days. So you know he's busy because he's keeping me busy. Be a man, gentlemen. Have a backbone because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. We'll see you later.